Today is February 19th. Today's quote is entitled, Tricks of the Mind. One of the subtle tricks of the mind is to steal our identity and claim he is us. Your mind will try to overthrow you by pretending to be you. Then it will take over while making you believe you are in control. It's like the person who says, I smoke because I like it, even though smoking will kill him. One of the keys to advancing is to be able to detach from the mind, to not identify with thoughts that are antagonistic to our well-being. You know, isn't it interesting how when we get a thought, we usually identify with that thought, and then that thought tells us something and we think that's absolute reality. That's the way the world is. Or the thought says, you should do this or have this or go here or go there. And then we immediately do that. And that's because of the false ego. You see, the false ego is what identifies everything as mine, puts the stamp on it. So I have a thought, and the false ego comes in and stamps it. That's my thought. That's me. I want this. That's me. So the way the mind tricks us is the mind gets us to the point where we can't really identify ourselves as different from the mind. So everything the mind says, we think that's us. And then we say things like, my mind's very strong. But you're not the mind. So let's say you pull back from the mind, and you say, oh, that's just my mind. I'm not the mind. Now you have your identity. Your false ego, your Krishna conscious ego allows you to separate from your mind, and then you can say, oh, those are just thoughts. I may be thinking about so many things that are not Krishna conscious, but then I can think, those are thoughts. Those are not my thoughts. Those are thoughts that are coming from the modes of nature, and I don't need to act on them. That's liberation. That's freedom from the mind. But when we are meshed in the mind altogether, we don't see that. The thought comes and we think, that's me, and I have to do this. Which is sometimes why we do things which we're not supposed to do, and we're doing them and we know we shouldn't be doing them because we haven't detached. Now, one of the things that has helped me a lot is when the mind brings up something from the past, then I just think, that thought or that desire that's coming up, that is something from the past that has no relevance to me in the present. So I can detach from it. I can just look at it. Oh, I don't like that devotee. Oh, that's some conditioned thinking. That's the way I used to think before I was a devotee. But now I'm a devotee, I want to think this way. And so the conditioned side will try to bring me over here, but I can just think, oh, that's just my conditioning. I don't need that thought anymore. It's not useful. So now look at your thoughts and see which ones are useful and which ones aren't. And if they're not useful, you don't have to energize them. You don't have to act on them. Unless you allow your mind to trick you into thinking it's you, and then, whatever it says, you'll do. Yes, yes, my master, whatever you say, I'll do. That's the trouble. So when we say we're not the body, we also say we're not the mind. And when we say we're not the mind, the idea is we can see the mind is distinct from us, and we have the power to deal with it, control it, and at least acknowledge that thoughts which are not helping me become Krishna conscious are not needed and useful, and therefore I don't have to act on them. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.